What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports here with our partners at the Voice of College Football on the SEC channel, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why each team will win the SEC championship. Georgia comes in about a touchdown favorite over Alabama, and we're going to look at the keys to the game and why each team will win if they do in fact win the game. Not going to give you a prediction here in this video, but there'll be a full preview and prediction over on my channel at SG1 Sports. If you'd like to check that out, it should be coming up about the middle of the week. If Alabama is able to beat Georgia in the SEC championship, these are the 5 reasons why they will get it done. And we start with number 5, their third down offense. This is always a big key in big games, third downs. Which team can convert on third downs? Which teams can stay out of third and longs? And when you get into a third and long, which team is able to convert? Alabama's number 2 in the country in third down offense. And that's mostly because of Bryce Young, which we'll talk about more in just a second. But they're really good at picking up third downs. They're really good at staying ahead of the chains, running the football effectively. They get it done on third downs. They have all year. Georgia ranks 14th in the country in third down defense, which is really good, don't get me wrong. But when you look at Georgia's other stats and where they stack up, they're top 5 in the country pretty much everywhere, but they're actually not in the top 5 in third down defense, which is interesting. Alabama converts 54% of their third downs, and like I said, a lot of that has to do with really, I think, 2 things. First of all, staying ahead of the chains, being able to run the football, which is something they're probably going to struggle to do against Georgia, to be honest. But if they're able to run the football, that'll obviously be huge. But it's also Bryce Young and his ability to extend plays. We know he's not a runner, but when he's in a third down situation, how many times have we seen him take the snap and there may be pressure coming his way, but he's able to get away from that pressure, extend plays, keeps his eyes downfield, and will eventually find an open receiver if the defense doesn't get to him. So I think that's a big reason why Alabama has been so good on third downs. And if they're going to beat Georgia, they will have to be good on third downs in this game. Number 4, it's Metchie and Williams, the 2 wide receivers for Alabama. They are going to be a huge key in this game. And I think it's an area where you might can exploit Georgia just a little bit. You look at what these guys have done this year. Jamison Williams, over 1,200 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns. John Metchie, over 1,000 yards receiving. He's got 7 touchdowns. These are 2 really good wide receivers. They haven't had a lot of other guys step up. They really haven't had that third option that I thought they would get. You know, Billingsley hasn't done what we thought he was going to do this year. In fact, Cameron Latou actually is the leading tight end receiver on this team. Slade Bolden has been okay, but it's been Jamison Williams and John Metchie. And when you have 2 options, it just opens up so much for you. The defense cannot key on just one guy. When you look at Georgia and and throughout the season, they really haven't faced many good passing offenses. I think Alabama is clearly the best passing offense that Georgia has faced all season. But look at Arkansas. They've got 1 really good receiver, Traylon Burks. He was pretty much shut down in that game. Look at Kentucky. You've got Wan'Dale Robinson. Georgia pretty much shut him down. But look at Tennessee, a team that is able to air it out a little bit more, and they've got multiple weapons at that wide receiver position. Tennessee threw for over 300 yards on this Georgia defense. Cedric Tillman had 200 yards on 10 catches. Velus Jones, another athletic guy, he had 8 catches for 44 yards. Ramel Keaton had 5 catches for 48 yards. So you see, when you've got multiple options, it's a little bit tougher. And Alabama's got probably the 2 best receivers that Georgia will have. Maybe we'll argue Traylon Burks, but they've definitely got the best duo of wide receivers in the country that Georgia has faced this season, and that's going to be tough. I know Georgia's pass defense has been good statistically, but a lot of that has to do with just their total defense and their front 7 and getting pressure on the quarterback, which is going to be a huge key in this game. But if Alabama is able to have some time to get the ball down the field, I think John Metchie and Jamison Williams can exploit this Georgia secondary. They can make some big plays, and if their defense can hang on the other side, it may not take a lot of big plays to score enough points to possibly win this game. Number 3 takeaway, it's Will Anderson and the run defense. I could really make this 2 separate slides here, but kind of ran out of options here. We had to go with the 5 takeaways, so we're going to put them together here. Will Anderson and that run defense. We know Will Anderson has been just unbelievable this year. He's one of the top players in the country. He's got 25.5 tackles for loss. Think about that for a second. 25.5 tackles for loss. He's also got 13 sacks. He's just been a complete monster on this Alabama defense, and he wrecks plays. You have to double team him. It changes everything for an offense. He's a game changer. I mean, as simple as that. And overall, just this Alabama run defense has just been really, really good this season. And I think that they have proven that. Look at the Iron Bowl and look at how good they were against that Auburn rushing attack. I mean, Auburn couldn't do anything on the ground. Alabama is the number 4 run defense in terms of yards per game, but they're actually number 2 in yards per carry, which is even better than Georgia. So they have done a really good job of shutting down the opposing team's run game, and they have a chance, I think, to make Georgia one-dimensional, making Georgia have to throw the ball to beat them. Can they do it? Of course, we'll have to wait and find out, but I do think Alabama has a great shot to shut down the Georgia run game, and like I said, make them beat them through the air. Number 2, Bryce Young. Bryce Young will be a huge reason why Alabama wins this game if they do in fact win it. Just talked about him a second ago on the third downs and how he's so good at keeping plays alive, converting third downs. He's been phenomenal this year. I mean, he really has. You look at his numbers, 69% completion percentage, 3,900 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. He's only thrown 4 interceptions all year, and Georgia actually is not great at getting interceptions. Again, I think people look at the pass defense numbers and think this Georgia pass defense is great. Yeah, they're good, but the front seven's the reason why their pass defense is good. They've not forced a lot of interceptions this season, so you would expect Bryce Young to be able to take care of the football. And not only just him being efficient and statistically a great player, he's now got, and this whole team really has a lot of confidence after that comeback against Auburn, finding a way to get it done. I believe that is a big boost for them. They've been able to win some close games this season. Georgia hasn't really had a close game. I mean, you have to go all the way back to Clemson in week 1. That was the only close game they had, and the offense certainly didn't do anything in that game. But Alabama has been able to win some close games. They fought back against Texas A&M even though they didn't win that game. And Bryce Young is a huge part of that. You cannot rattle this kid. He has been great under pressure, great in those key moments in the fourth quarter. It seems like when Alabama has to have a score, they get it. And that is, I think, because of Bryce Young, his leadership, his composure, and just his talent. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, potentially a Heisman winner if they're able to win this game. So he's going to be a big reason why Alabama will win if they do, in fact, win this game. But number 1, it's Nick Saban. I think that this is the obvious answer here. Nick Saban is still one of, if not the best coaches in all of college football. And I think there's a good chance he's going to out-coach Kirby Smart in this game. He will have, I think, a great game plan, both sides of the ball. Alabama will be ready. Georgia might just be too good of a team, but I don't think Alabama's going to lose this game because they get out-coached. And I think the defensive game plan for Alabama will be, it'll be really good. I think that they will have a nice day on that side of the ball. It's going to be the Alabama offense. Can they score points in this game against a very good Georgia defense? That's what it will come down to. But Nick Saban, he's the best in the country still, in my opinion. I think he'll have this Alabama team prepared. And if they win, and I mean big time this year, if they win this game, it's going to be because Nick Saban out-coaches Kirby Smart. Is this the year that Georgia finally beats Alabama? They've got a golden opportunity. They're actually favored in the game. These are the 5 reasons why Georgia will win if they do, in fact, win. And we start with number 5. That is the red zone defense. The red zone defense for Georgia this season has been really, really good. They've been one of the best in the country. You can look at all kinds of stats for Georgia to see how good they are statistically in the red zone. They're number 1 in the country just in terms of scoring. The opposing team only scores about 55% of the time. That means a team gets in the red zone and about half the time they don't even score. That is unbelievable. They've only allowed teams to get into the red zone 22 times all year. So it's hard to get in the red zone, but then when you do, it's very tough to score. Only giving up 6 touchdowns all season in the red zone. They have been just unbelievable in the red zone. And this Georgia defense just overall has been unbelievable. But I think that's a big reason why they have a great shot to win this game. Alabama, because of their struggles on the offensive line, if they get down inside the 10-yard line, they're not going to be able to just run it in. This is not one of those old Alabama teams that's able to impose their will in the run game. So I think Georgia will have a great day in the red zone. I think they will have a good shot to hold Alabama to several field goals instead of touchdowns. So that red zone defense, a huge reason why Georgia could come away with a win in Atlanta. Number 4 is the offensive line for Georgia. This was kind of a question mark coming into the year. Thought that this might be one of the weaker areas of the team, but they played really well, actually. They had some injuries and were able to overcome that, and I think it just speaks to the depth of this team. That could be one of the reasons why they win this game is depth. I think Georgia is deeper than Alabama, and that's something that a few years ago you wouldn't say, but this Georgia team, Kirby Smart has recruited so well, and they have been able to play so many players. Their depth is unbelievable. With this offensive line, if you look at the run game, they're getting 5.38 yards per carry, which is really good, one of the best in the country. And they're number 2 in the country in sacks allowed. They've only given up 8 sacks all season. So a great pass rush from Alabama against a great offensive line for Georgia. That'll be a big key and probably the determining factor on that side of the ball as far as what Georgia can do offensively, because if they do give up some sacks, that'll be tough for them. But if they're able to run the football, stay ahead of the chains, I mean, they're probably not going to average 5 yards per carry in this game, but if they can average 4 or 3.5 and then don't give up sacks on third downs, Georgia will be in great shape offensively. But this offensive line has really played well this season, a big reason why Georgia is in the position that they're in. And I think, the offensive line is always overlooked, but you have to give a lot of credit to this Georgia offensive line for what they've been able to do really all season long. Number 3 for Georgia, it's the offensive weapons. I just talked about depth a second ago, talked about how Georgia's probably a deeper team than Alabama. And it's across the board, but you look at what they've been able to do on offense with the skill positions. I mean, it's unbelievable how deep they are, how many weapons they have. You can forget keying in on one guy because it's such a balanced attack. They don't have a Heisman candidate on offense, but they've got so many really good players. You look at Zamir White, 691 yards this season. James Cook, 581 yards. Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton, both over 200 yards rushing. They've been spreading it around on the ground, but really it's the passing game where they have had a ton of success. Brock Bowers is actually their leading receiver, and you look at the numbers, you say, well, their top 2 receivers, 652 yards, 395 yards. Those aren't great numbers. They don't have any great. It's because they spread the ball around. Brock Bowers has been. He's probably the best tight end in the country this year as a true freshman. He's been unbelievable. And how about Ladd McConkey? Where'd he come from? No one saw him coming. Who would have thought? I mean, no one would have thought before the season that these would be the top 2 receivers on this team. Adonai Mitchell has been good for them as well. Jermaine Burton only has 20 catches for 376 yards, but he's probably their best receiver. And they just haven't had to use him a lot, haven't had to go to him a lot. We know Georgia's got the starters on the bench in the second half in most of these games. So they've just got so many weapons. Darnell Washington, a guy that's battled some injuries, but he's a talented player, and the list goes on. They've got guys that have been banged up that if they can play in this game can contribute, and a big one is George Pickens. George Pickens is back. He played against Georgia Tech. I think he had maybe like 1 catch, didn't really do a whole lot. But you add George Pickens along with Jermaine Burton, that combo at wide receiver is special. I mean, that is a really good 1-2 punch at wide receiver. And then you add in Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington at tight end. I mean, this team has got weapons all over the place, and that's how you can open things up for a Ladd McConkey. Look at what he's done this year. You got to stay on him as well. A guy that can make big plays through the air. So, I mean, this offense just has so many weapons. I know Alabama's defense is really good this year, but I think they're going to have a hard time slowing down all of these weapons. You cannot key on one guy, and I think Georgia has a chance to really exploit this Alabama defense I think they're going to surprise some people. When we talk about Georgia, everyone thinks, well, their offense is not very good. They'll probably struggle to score in this game. I think this offense might surprise some people. If they can stay ahead of the chains, if they can run the football, that's going to be first and foremost. And you think they're not going to be able to throw it, just watch. Stetson Bennett has been better than I think people give him credit for this season. Plus, he can use his legs. And so I think they're going to surprise some people with what they do on offense. But number 2 is actually JT Daniels, not Stetson Bennett. JT Daniels might not play in this game. He may have absolutely no impact on this game. But he's the ace in the hole. You look at what Alabama did to Georgia when they brought in Tua Tagovailoa, and then they brought in Jalen Hurts. You've got this guy, a really talented quarterback in your back pocket. So if Stetson Bennett's not getting it done, if the offense is struggling, you can go to JT Daniels. He's proven that he can throw the football with the best of them. This passing offense, and maybe they're just saving him. I think a lot of Georgia fans think that they're just saving JT Daniels just because they haven't had to use him. But if they need to go to him, if you need a spark, you've got JT Daniels sitting on the bench, and Georgia could pull an Alabama in this game, switch up their quarterback, and it could be JT Daniels that leads Georgia to the victory. And also, I think Alabama does have to prepare for him just a little bit. They have to know that it's possible he could come in this game. And so I think he's the X factor here. Georgia may not need him. They may be just way better than Alabama. This game may not be close at all. But if it's close, if the offense is struggling, watch for them to possibly go to JT Daniels in this game, and he could have a huge impact. But the number one reason why Georgia will win this game, it's the front seven. The front seven for Georgia. I mean, it's all about the front seven for Georgia versus the offensive line for Alabama. And if you watch football all season, the advantage goes clearly to Georgia in this matchup. Alabama's offensive line has really struggled, and Georgia's got the best front seven in college football. I don't think that that's really even a debate. I think they are clearly the best in the country. They're averaging 3.42 sacks per game, which is 5th in the country. Alabama gives up 3 sacks a game, which is 112th. That just shows you where they've struggled. Georgia only gives up 2.49 yards per carry on the ground. I don't expect Alabama to be able to run the football a whole lot in this game. Bryce Young is going to have to throw it, and when he throws it, is he going to have time? That's the question. As good as this Alabama offense is, as good as these receivers are, if Bryce Young can't throw the football, if he doesn't have any time to throw it, they're not going to do much in this game. And I think that's why there's a potential, this game's not even close, that Georgia could win by a lot. But Nick Saban, he'll be prepared. They'll have some things ready. They'll make some adjustments, and who knows, maybe they're able to slow down this pass rush, this front seven of Georgia. Maybe they're able to put some wrinkles in on this offense and catch Georgia off guard. Who knows? It's going to be tough, though. I think Georgia is favored for a reason, and if they do, in fact, win this game, the number one reason will be because of their front seven and the struggles on the Alabama offensive line.